Yo, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be showing you the basics of how to play chess. I'm going to show you exactly how all the pieces move, and I'm going to show you the very odd exceptions which you will also need to know about. There are only 3 of them, and I'll show you all 3 of them, and you definitely need to know about these, so stay tuned until the end and I will show you how all the chess pieces move so that you will know how to play chess. So I'm going to go on this website to show you. It's called leechess.org. I'm also going to show you the most popular website to play chess. This is the most popular chess website in the world. It's called chess.com. But for the purpose of showing you how the pieces move, I'm going to go on leechess.org, Tools, Analysis Board. So first of all, the pawns. If a pawn has never moved before in a game, it has 2 options of moving. It cannot capture in the forward direction. It can only capture here and here. And this is the only piece that has a separate ability to capture from its move. So it can capture in this direction if there was another enemy. Say if this pawn was over here, then this pawn can capture over here. And I'm gonna just show you that right now, because whenever you click on a piece it shows you all its available options. So now this pawn is right here. So when I click this pawn, this square has the things on the edge here. So it says I can capture here, but when I click on it, there's no option to do anything here. When I left click here, then left click here, there's no option to move there or capture there or anything. So I can take this like this. This is how pawns capture. And they can jump forward 2 times on their first move, as you could see by the option there. But then every subsequent move for the rest of the game, they can only move 1 square forward. And they always capture on these 2 directions, but they can't move in these 2 directions unless there is an enemy piece which they can capture on the turn in which they're moving. Okay, so that's the pawns. Then most of the other pieces are much simpler. I'm going to go into the bishops. Each bishop starts on either the black square or a white square. 1 bishop for each type of square for each side. So basically they just move diagonally in all 4 directions. Pretty simple. You can see you can go this way, this way, this way, this way. And this one can go this way, this way, this way, this way. And then they can't go over other pieces. The only piece that can do that is knights. Knights can jump over both your pieces and the opponent's pieces. So this knight can be developed by jumping over these pieces. So knights are pretty tricky. Bishops are simple. They just move in each direction. This piece is blocking it, so it can't go here or here. But if this piece moved forward, then it could go here. There's one other thing I should tell you about pawns too, I guess. If pawns are like this, they can't capture each other and they can't move forward because it's blocked from moving forward. It cannot capture in this direction. It can only capture here and here. And then same thing for this guy over here on the other side. So knights. Knight's a pretty powerful one in the center of the board, because when I click on this, it shows you most of the squares this knight can attack. Knights can attack all of these squares. That is, when you go up and then left, or up and then right, 2 squares up, then 1 square left, or 2 squares up and 1 square right. And this knight can attack all of these squares here. Like, it just depends on wherever they are on the board. Whatever spot it's in, you go 2 squares in one direction, then 1 square in another direction. Now you can attack that spot. You go 2 squares in one direction, 1 square in another direction. Now you can attack that spot. You go 2 squares in this direction, 1 square in this direction. Now you can attack this spot. Or you go 1 square in one direction, 2 squares in the other direction. Now you can attack this spot. 1 square in this direction, 2 squares in this direction. Now you can attack this spot. That's the best way for a beginner to calculate where the knight can move, but over time you'll just know the radius and you'll just be able to quickly see where knight is able to move with practice. But for now, you should just remember that a knight can move 2 squares in one direction. It can attack and move onto squares that are 2 squares in one direction from the knight, and then 1 square either to the left or the right, or 1 square in one direction, 2 squares to the left or right of that square. I hope that makes it pretty clear for the knights. They're kind of tricky, harder to explain than the other pieces, but let me try to say it in one more way, which might be simpler. Whatever square it's on, it can move like this, 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 in this radius. It can move like this no matter what square it's on. So with this knight, these are all the available options for this knight to move. It can move in all these squares. And for this knight, it can move here, 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 and here. It can move in all of these squares. So that's about it. Pretty simple once you get the hang of it. I'll go on to the rooks now. As you can see, the rooks can move in each of the 4 directions. The bishops move diagonally, but these guys just move along what's called the files and ranks. Files are these vertical columns, and ranks are these horizontal columns. This is called the back rank for both sides. This is the back rank of white. This is the black's back rank. So yeah, these guys just move in these 4 directions. And then obviously they're blocked by the pieces just like the other pieces. So he can't take the queen, but you can take that pawn. Then the queens. So the queen, as you can see, has a lot of options to move because the queen can move in all 8 directions. It can move this way, this way, this way. So it can do all the things that a rook can, and then it can also do all the things that a bishop can. It can move in these diagonals as well. And then it's subject to the same rules except for the knight, where if I go select this queen, I cannot take this knight because this pawn is blocking it. So I can only take that pawn, and I can't take the knight. And it cannot move through its own pieces either. As you see, when I select it here, it can move this way, but otherwise it's blocked in by its other pieces. So that's its only option, is this diagonal. It can move anywhere along this diagonal. So then let's get on to the kings. So this is the last piece that we have to cover before we get on to the special situations in the game. So the king can move in all squares around him, except when there's, so these are all the squares that the king can attack and move, but it can't move onto areas where other pieces could threaten them. So pawns can attack in these areas. This pawn is attacking these areas, and this king is attacking these areas. So the white king can't move into a space where the black king would be able to take them next round. It's an illegal move. It's just not legal, so you can't do it. It's against the rules, so it doesn't even give you the option to do it. As you can see, when I select this black king, this pawn has the option to attack these squares. So the black king can move everywhere else except where he's blocked by his own piece, and also except for where this white pawn is attacking. So he can take this white pawn, but he can't move where the white pawn has the ability to attack. And then same thing for, oh, this is a good thing to know. If white moves a piece in this type of situation, like a bishop, and then this bishop is supported by this piece, the king is not going to be able to take this piece, because if he did, then he would be in a square where the white piece is threatening. So it's an illegal move, so he doesn't even have that option. He has to move somewhere else. And then Now that the king is here, this option has been taken away, this option has been taken away by this bishop, this option has been taken away because of these two pawns that both attacking this square, this option taken away by the king, this option is taken away by the king and the bishop. So the king can only move here and here. So now let me get on to the special exceptions of the game. So the first one is called En Passant, and it means in passing. It's French for the words in passing. And this type of situation rarely occurs in a game, but sometimes it does occur, and it's very important to know about, because otherwise you won't calculate for it if you don't know about it, and it could cost you the game if you don't know about that feature of the game. So this only occurs when a pawn has not moved yet. So this pawn has not moved thus far in the game yet. The only time this occurs is when this pawn uses its special ability in the event of a pawn not having moved at a point in the game yet. So he does his 2 steps forward thing and goes 2 squares forward. And this only happens when there's another pawn of the enemy that is on either this rank for the black king or this rank for the white king. So basically I'm going to show you what happens in action. The black pawn moves here. The white pawn, even though it shouldn't be able to attack here, you can see that there's an option for the white pawn to attack here. So what happens if we go here? Boom. This pawn that was here, that was originally here and then moved here, is now disappeared. It's captured. It's captured by the white pawn. So why did that happen? It's because they thought, the people who developed the game of chess thought that it was unfair to allow a piece to move up like this without letting the other player have a chance to attack the pawn. Because this is why to my understanding at least, previously pawns used to only be able to move 1 square at a time. They didn't have this ability to move up 2 squares like this. So once they changed the rules to allow it to move up by 2 squares, it just changed the game so much that they thought that it was not fair to allow that to happen without giving the other player a chance to attack that piece. So that's why it was changed, and the rule still holds true to this day. So now that move is legal. En Passant is always legal. It's used in tournaments, it's used in all high level play if that situation occurs and if they choose like using that option. But this is what to keep in mind. Say if this piece is here and then you move this piece up 2 squares, so this black piece has the option of capturing here, but he chooses not to capture, and the game goes on, and then he looks at this piece, then he looks at this piece again, looks at its options. A couple of moves have passed. All of a sudden he no longer has the option to capture here anymore because there's no piece here, the pawn is here. And the reason for this is because you only have 1 move to do en passant, and that's on the move when the opponent's pawn has moved 2 squares forward. On that move where the opponent moved 2 squares forward, that's your only chance to capture with the rule of en passant. Otherwise that pawn's going to be up there until, and he can support it, and it's going to be up there until you can find another way to capture it. You will not be able to capture it with your pawn anymore. With your pawn that was adjacent to it, to the enemy's pawn. You'll not be able to do that anymore. So I hope that's clear. Just to reiterate one more time, just to make sure it's absolutely crystal clear. Basically, en passant, this pawn is here, and the other guy moves up 2 squares. Then the guy has an option to capture the pawn that just moved up 2 squares, if he's adjacent to the pawn that just moved up 2 squares. Okay, and then the last thing to know about for knowing how to play chess is about castling. It's called castling. So what is castling? It's the king's ability to move into safety. I'm going to castle right now on this move. So that was a castle right there. The king moved over 2 squares and the rook moved over 2 squares. That's a castle on the king side. There's also what's called a castle on the queen side, which is the last thing that I will explain. So how does castling work? Castling works like this. If the king and the rook have no enemy pieces obstructing the path in between them, then you have the option to castle, which is exactly what I just showed you. The king would move over 2 squares and the rook would move over 2 squares, and the purpose of castling is to move the king from the center of the board into a position that is safer for the king, so your king will be safe and you can focus on attacking the enemy king and capturing the enemy king. So I'm going to show you when you cannot castle. Oh, there's also one other thing to know. In order to castle, the king must not have moved at any point in the game up to the point of the castle, and the rook, which the king is castling with, must not have moved up until that point of the game. If the rook moves here and the rook moves back, now this black king no longer has the option to castle. If this king moves, then he moves back. There's no option to castle anymore. And now I'm going to show you if a piece is in the way. Say it's a check here. The king's forced to take it. Now black cannot castle anymore. How do I... oh, here's how I do it. There we go. See, now the path between the king and the rook is clear, but this bishop is attacking this spot, so the king is no longer able to castle. And now this bishop is no longer blocking the path of the king. What the heck? What happened? Oh, I lost connection. That's why it was not responded. Okay, now this bishop is blocking the path, so the black king cannot castle. Now, if this bishop moves out of the way, now this bishop is attacking these areas. That's the influence that the bishop has on the board. It has the influence over these areas. Now the black king can castle. Okay, and there's just one more thing to know, which is castling on the queen side. So all of the same rules that apply to the king side castling procedures also apply to the queen side castling procedures. The only difference is that the positioning that the king and the rook end up in is slightly different. Otherwise, all the same rules apply. You cannot castle if there is an enemy piece attacking one of the squares in between your king and your rook. Your king may not have moved up until that point of the game in order to castle queenside, and your rook must not have moved in order to castle queenside. So this is a castle queenside for the white king. So the king moved over 2 squares, and this time the rook moves over 3 squares. So this type of castle is generally, I'm talking about generally, sometimes it is safer, but generally it's less safe than a castle on the king side. So it's not, I would not recommend it for beginners except in certain situations, but chess is like that. Sometimes you have to break the general principles depending on the situation, depending on the positioning of the pieces on the board. So now black castles here. As you can see, this pawn is undefended by the king. It's only defended by each side's knight. So this pawn tends to be a weak point. But yeah, now I'm getting to the specifics. The point of the video was to show you how the pieces move, and That's it. That's how they move. I hope that was all clear and understandable. Thanks for watching. Peace. Oh yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, let me know. And yeah, like the video if you like it.